Live on stage, the sound
of Orlando.
So, if they ready, the sound
of Orlando.
You don't know?
Nah, we don't know. What's going on, man? What is going on, party people? Welcome to the Sound of Orlando show. We made it through another weekend. Shouts out to everybody, and hope you had a great weekend. We're back on a Monday, and a lot going on, man. A lot of stuff is going on right now. But I want to first thank all the people that are out here supporting the movement and what we're trying to do for the city beautiful, the city that we love, the ORL Orlando. We're trying to put this city on the map, not only from a standpoint of what we do, because for every artist that comes on this show that doesn't live here, we are trying to tell them what we do, okay? This is one of those moments in which the world is waiting on a new story, something that can offer a perspective. And Orlando, we move different. The ORL, it moves different. Shout out to everybody that is copping these shirts. I can't keep them, man. They're flying. I put a new design together. This is the version 3 right here. So Show with Rome. For all my people that love black shirts. I just made a small amount, and already they're flying. So thank you. I will be putting in another batch for the black. Shout out to all my people that support the version 2 shirts. The Sound of Orlando right on the front. I just got some blueberries in, and cherry will be probably the next batch as well. Simply because I just made a picture of, I just made one. I just need to see what it looked like, and already I'm getting a good response from that. But God has a sense of humor. Sometimes you don't think you would ever be doing certain things, and then there you go. There's always this, so I'm doing things in which I never thought I'd be doing in my life. And I got to thank my city for it. My city is coming through. They're telling me they're down with what we're doing. This is for y'all. This ain't for me. I came back and I felt like our city deserved representation, conversation, a highlight of what they're doing, in which we went a lot of years and this wasn't happening. I'm just honored to be a part of this particular movement and talking to our people, and highlighting some of the things that I see on a regular basis in our city. We're putting some big things together within these next few months. Be patient with us. We're trying to gather and do what has been impossible thus far, even though it's not impossible. We're trying to bring this entire city together, kicking and screaming. Of course, there's going to be resistance to it. A lot of people want to play hero ball, and that's fine. That is not my concern. Who doesn't want to be down with that is not my concern. What people might do is not my concern. My concern is the people that actually want to see our city representing not only all over the country, but all over the world. That's where my focus is. Are you with me? Is the bigger question. And if you're with me, welcome to the Sound of Orlando show. Now, this next artist I got coming on tonight, man, she represents everything Orlando. She has graced the stages with KRS-One and the like. She's been doing major things as far as production. She could sing. She's a dope ass MC. We need voices like hers. She gives a different perspective on this thing of ours called hip hop, what we love. by being a woman, by representing that idea of what and how things should be looked at from their perspective. This is not only a man's game, this is a woman's game. You know, we all have a responsibility to hear our people, and that's all we're trying to do. We are trying to show that our voice in Orlando is valuable, and every time she hits that stage, you're reminded of how valuable our voices are and how important it is to listen to our people and our stories and why they are the way they are, why we rock the way we rock, why we are the way we are. And she represents the O. She is the O. She's got production from Soliloquy of Sound. Shout out to my man Swanberger. Shout out to that whole movement. She's worked with so many greats out here, and you'll be surprised when it all boils down how brilliant she really is when you talk to her. So, without further ado, let me bring the legendary, because she is legendary in this city, my sister, the one and only, Etern. What's going on?
That was an epic intro. Thank you.
Hey, man, we got to get flowers while the people are alive, man. Too many of us dying right now, man. Got to represent our city.
That
yes.
was epic.
Man, I'm so honored to have you on the show. I know it's been a long time coming. You know,
for sure.
I was very glad to be able to talk to you prior to the show, because I know for a lot of folks, when I came back, it was like, who the fuck is this guy? And why is he talking all crazy? Shout out to my man, Strange Flow. I remember talking to him. Shout out to the Warheads. Shout out to all that whole movement, Red Rum and all that. You know, but I remember outside of Iron Cow, we were talking about this show, which I didn't even know. And I remember him saying, how the hell you gonna do that? And, you know, I didn't realize the gravity of what I was talking about.
Yeah.
But, you know, to see it happen, and then to see, you know, artists like yourself joining, because you guys kind of came on after I bounced. I just think that is a beautiful thing in retrospect, because I know what goes down out here, man. A lot of times it's just like, you know, nah, B, I got this. You know, I'll do it by myself, or I don't need you, and blah blah blah. But you know, we're living in a time right now where we all need each other, and it's, you know, especially for our city, in which there's so many dope ass voices and so many people out here trying to bring awareness to what needs to be looked at. And you're one of those artists, man. So I can't tell my story without telling yours. So this is what we got. Welcome to the Side of Orlando show.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I've been catching some stuff lately, and I've enjoyed it for sure. I was like, oh snap! Look at you got all these cats on here. Like, it's definitely grown since you first started. You know, so congratulations on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really looking at it. I'm just here. I'm just here kind of doing it. All of it is overwhelming. And then, you know, there's so much going on at the same time. I mean, I'm glad that it's effective, that people like yourself and others that are important to the city are the ones actually viewing it. I think everyone else will eventually come aboard, but we got to get our people in line. Some of the influencers, some of the leaders, some of the people that have been doing these things for a while, we need to get y'all on board. And, you know, like I said, no one would have believed it if it was on once a week. So 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, Jimmy Kimmel shit. Let's go. Let's make it happen.
I've been like, hey, he does this every day. That's crazy.
Right. So now, for those that don't know who Etern is, can you give us a little bit of your background, how you started in music, what was your, you know, bringing into, if you will, in the city that we love. What started you out here in the city and kind of cutting your teeth?
So I am from Central Florida. I'm from the Central Florida area. Lived in Orlando. My main place of residence, I'd say the longest that I've lived somewhere is Altamont Springs, so Seminole County, but it's a suburb of Orlando. It's right outside. I've lived all over Central Florida, though. This is my home. I was born in Oklahoma, actually, which is kind of random.
Right. Shout out to Oklahoma and all that flatness over there, man. It's like actually Oklahoma, believe it or not, for a lot of people that don't know what Oklahoma is. I mean, it's like Florida, but without so many trees. Like it's flat as fuck.
Tumbleweeds everywhere.
Dirt. Right. Minus the trees and the tumbleweed.
More drugs.
Like Florida. Oh, yeah.
I'm just like, thank you so much for getting me out of there. Like, I was only like barely even 2 when we came to Orlando, to Central Florida. So I was like, thank God for you. Thank you, God, for getting me out of there. So,
oh, man.
Yeah.
Shout out to Oklahoma City and all that. Go.
Yeah, definitely. I was born in Norman, which is kind of like right out of OKC, and I finally did a show there a couple years ago when I was on tour with Lisa Vasquez, and it was really cool to perform in the city I was from. I'm not from there, but born in, and so been here pretty much my whole life. Been singing pretty much my whole life. Music has always been my love. I've always wanted to be a singer, a superstar since I was a little baby, like just singing my whole life. Music runs in the family. My dad sings, my mom plays guitar. My brother's the one who got me into hip hop. I mean, I grew up in the era of like rap. Like rap has always been a thing my whole life. But, I was listening to stuff like Tupac, of course, Bone Thugs, 3 6 Mafia, living in Florida, Pastor Troy, all this down south stuff. And then my brother was listening to like Wu and Nas and Tribe and all this stuff. So, which was like a little older than my age or whatever. I'm 33. So put me onto Illmatic. Put me on a 36 Chambers, and it was just life-changing for me. I've always been into poetry and writing lyrics and stuff like that. As soon as I heard Nas, I was just like, wow, this is different and dope, and I aspire to be like this. So I started rapping probably in 7th grade. I have a line that's like 7th grade detention, writing rhymes on the desk, couldn't pay attention. I just remember starting to write raps and be like, I could do this. And so it was definitely
dope. And that's dope that because once again, and this can't be said enough, female representation in hip hop is kind of like convoluted, if you will. A lot of women, when we was coming up, it was not so much about all the sexy. No. I mean, I don't even remember MC Lyte dressing in anything provocative.
Yeah,
but Lyte was fucking incredible. She was dope. I remember hearing Paper Thin for the first time, and I was just completely blown away at her skill set.
Right.
And it didn't seem to me that anyone wrote her rhyme.
Right.
Like it was so like her. Like I don't hear dudes saying certain things that a woman would say, and she was able to convey that message with such. Like she was up there to be for a while with like Big Daddy Kane and Rakim and like she was like really dope. But for you to say, okay, well, boom, I can do this. Mm-hmm. Just give us some more insight on like the idea, knowing that it was a male dominated place. What were some of your okays, if you will, to kind of just say, okay, either I'm gonna be the first, or or which that wasn't true, but what? Just kind of give us an idea of what was that? Nah, this is me all day, and people ain't messing with me.
I don't think when I first started rapping, I didn't really have a full perspective of
a scope. Gotcha.
Yeah, of the caliber that it was. I was just kind of doing my thing, and I always naturally kind of had rhythm, and but I looking, myself, like even when I would hear my music back then, I was so young. I started rapping when I was like 12. So I didn't really have a perspective on whether I was good or not. Everybody thought I was good, but I don't know if back then they were just like, oh, this girl is rapping. This is good, But I do remember like jumping into ciphers and feeling like I was killing dudes in the ciphers. Like I do remember feeling like, and again, I always had like a natural sense of rhythm. So even though back then I was like less knowledgeable on music and even whatever, I just kind of felt like, all right, I feel like I'm doing better than some of these dudes, So so that kind of just, it fueled me. And just like, jumping in a cipher, the fuel you get from other people and how fun it is, that's kind of a lot of the thing that fueled me to keep going and be like, all right, I'm going to keep going with this. So, but then there was also like a turning point later when I started doing like the hip hop open mics, like things like at the AKA Lounge. And
shout out to the AKA Lounge. You already know, man.
So
that shit was a meeting place for a lot of some of the dopest MCs, dopest artists out here, man, that were thinking outside the box, if you will.
Yeah.
And trying to expand the sound that was already here. So continue.
Yeah, that was my start kind of into the scene, doing open mics, mainly at AKA Lounge, other places as well, but that was kind of the main spot. And then I remember, shouts to Alex Minor, AKA Gotta Miss Rhyme, that he used to go by on the light that I pulled in here before we started, because, we share an office, and he's doing his videography stuff now, and he's one of the first people that I actually met that I was like, oof, he's dope. And, so I would do the singing and rapping thing still, but he heard me rap and he went up to me after I got off stage and he was like, you're really good at rapping. He's like, keep rapping, like do that. And then Swam heard me later and said the same thing. And so he just kind of like, confirmed it or affirmed it for me that what Swam said was like, a lot of women can sing really well. He's like, not a lot of women that I've heard can rap really well. There are a lot of women that can rap really well. They're just not all out there. Like we don't see, the shine is not put on them. Like our platform is different. So he was just like, you need to follow that. Like you have skill and you have a chance. So I just took that and used it as fuel. And I just kept, practicing and trying to get better at my craft. And of course I had people like Gotta Miss Rhyme, Alex Minor, and the Vets of Kin Cats, Shinobi, and all these guys that to kind of Midas the Beast, Synops, who now goes by Okito, like all these cats, Mad Ills, I had these people that set a standard for me, that kind of kept me on my toes, that I could be like, all right, I gotta be as good as them or better. And so I just like built on my craft and like went full force on practicing. Well,
shout out to Okito, man. Shout out to that whole Bush, Shinobi, all them. Once again, you just mentioned like mad dudes, and it can be a rough go. Like I don't know what it is to be a female being hollered at from like sometimes it's 12, sometimes it's 14. Like just constantly somebody trying to holler at you, trying to maybe objectify you, and then you as a female MC, which down here it's been, there's been female MCs down here, but to your point, there hasn't been a lot that have said, okay, well, boom, I'm gonna stay in the face of everyone enough to where we remember them as the innovators, if you will. Shout out to Shyrock, from here and that whole movement. But this, like I said, it's just been a rough go of female MCs out here without attaching themselves to objectification, if you will. Talk about what that's like as a female MC to not be tempted to take maybe the easier route. I don't know if it's easy. In fact, I know it's not easy.
Yeah.
We look at it like, okay, you can put some tight shit on, everybody's gonna rock with you. But that's not an easy thing to do, even if you even if you are the most beautiful girl in the world,
Yeah.
it's still, there still has to be some sort of like, okay,
I mean,
I'm more talented than that.
right. I mean, I always look at my journey as I am grateful that all women, especially all women in general, especially in America, societal expectations, we have, for the most part, self-esteem issues, and we are like constantly told to like be competitive and you should look like this and you should look like that, right? So I think even though that's fucked up, that allowed my self-esteem issues and the issues that I've had, like I've dealt with weight issues with a health issue I've had since I like started puberty and stuff. So I've dealt with weight issues my whole life. So me having that perspective of myself, I think pushed me to be better at my skill. So I never had the expectation that like, all right, I'm gonna go put on some skimpy clothing and like I'll be good, because I saw myself as like, hey, like I'm kind of a, I'm a chunky girl, like I'm not gonna put on some fucking whatever, like. So I think though back then it did mess with my head a lot, being like, damn, like if I just looked a certain way or dressed a certain way, I'd be more popular, right? I'm actually super grateful that never existed, because it forced me to only look at my skill and be like, this is all it's about. It ain't about anything else besides my skill. And so I'm just really grateful for that. I feel like maybe if I would ever talk to Queen Latifah, like she could relate to that. You know what I'm saying? Like
right.
I wasn't worried about my appearance so much, that I was just worried about my skill, because I didn't think like, I'm not that cookie cutter, female woman that's like,
right. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I think that's a beautiful thing, to find a space where you can exist without feeling like you gotta be this. Let me speak up for the men too. Not every man that's a dope ass MC is model, if you will.
Yeah.
You spoke of Nines. He had a chipped tooth. A lot of people have.
There wasn't an expectation like that with men. Sorry to cut you off.
Right. No.
Yeah.
Right.
There was more of an expectation with women.
Well, insecurities is what I'm saying. For a lot of people, shout out to J. Cole. He even made a song about it, Crooked Smile. Like the idea of having to make yourself palatable for people in a place that is not your true gift, right? That's not what you came to do. Like you're not supposed to be skinny, that's not your that has
nothing
right?
to do with what I do. Yeah.
Right, and it has nothing to do with you do. So like, even male artists deal with that in a lot of ways. I'm pretty sure there's been a lot of dope ass MCs that had they maybe had a better look, right? They would have been more palatable for the mainstream. Right. And so artists just in general deal with that, not as extreme as women do, because they're constantly tempted to compromise their art to be more of a caricature of what we want women to be.
Right.
And so when they put money in your face, or, you're rolling with a squad that, succumbs to that particular belief, then people like yourself who've persevered regardless. I mean, there's a lot more people that have succumbed to that, or have felt like, well, I might as well not even do it because that's not my calling. And you've been one of those people that, to your credit, have had a great people around you to support the idea of focusing on where all the money is, and that's what's in here and in here, and you've been able to kind of live through that. And I think that's an accomplishment in and of itself, given the times that we live in, where everybody's looking for a fast dollar to quantify their existence. You made it your gift. Talk about you said working with or seeing that Swarm kind of dug what you were doing. Talk about what it was like to start working with some of the greats in Orlando to kind of forge your sound and forge what you're trying to do. Because that's not easy. Orlando's very cliquish, and a lot of that still hasn't changed. We're trying to break that shit into 1,000 pieces because it's counterproductive for our city. It benefits maybe one or two people, but at the end of the day, it doesn't help our city, and our city's more valuable than one or two people. We should all be looking to expand our value and grow our value because we're all in this together. We've all made sacrifices. We're all trying to just create this place in which, we hear it all the time. How come people don't support me? How people come out to my shows? But as a collective, if we were supported as a city, and we represented the city as a whole, I think more people would come out because they would view it as a city event versus a person event.
Right.
And so, like I said, working with some of the greats, how did that transpire with Swam taking a chance and the like?
Yeah, I mean, he basically heard me at an open mic and then was just like, he was starting to build Second Subject, which is, essentially a crew at this point. He hasn't really been pushing it as a label in the recent past, but he was starting an indie label called Second Subject Recordings, and some of the people that were on the original bill were like Am. Shouts to Am. He was actually a big influence for me when I was younger rapping because I knew him before I knew anybody in the scene when I was like 14 because I dated one of his old group members. And I was like, oh, like, these kids are rapping. And then I heard Am and I heard other dude. And I'm just like, all right. So they were definitely an inspiration for me before I even hit the scene. But yeah, so Am, he used to go by Amethyst. Am, he was one of the first people on the roster for Second Subject. And then Skip, who else was in there? Maui Kai, she's living in Europe, I think now. Kaylee Baker was on it, so it wasn't just rappers. Of course, Soliloquist of Sound, Swam raps, obviously, and who else was on there? X144, I believe.
Shout
ADM.
out to X.
Yes. So like, I came like a little later after the first group of people, and he was just like, yo, like I'm like really trying to push this label and build on it, and I want to hear what you do. So he randomly gave me an Alias beat from Anicon, and he was just like, do something on this or whatever. So I went home and I recorded on it. He's like, I want to see what you do with this beat. I sent it back to him. He hits me back. He's like, yo, this is super fire. He's like, I want to work on an album with you. And he was just really starting to get more into his production with building Second Sub. And so we like talked a little and figured out the details and what that would consist of and whatever. And I mean, I had no one else, quote unquote, taking a chance on me, right? And like, I looked up to Swam already because my brother used to skate with him back in the day. My brother, because, Swam skates. And my brother would always tell me, like, yo, you need to listen to Soliloquist of Sound. Yo, you need to listen to Soliloquist of Sound. They're fire, and they're, like, on a different level. They're, like, on some conscious shit. And as soon as I watched their documentary before I actually listened to their music, and obviously in the documentary there's music, and I was just like, whoosh, like, my mind was just, like, blown. I was like, wow. Other than, like, KRS-One, that was, like, kind of the first positive stuff that I was really hearing at that age. And so I already knew who Swam was, of course. And the fact that he wanted to work with me was just like, word, super dope. And my brother was really excited for that, of course, because he loves Swam and Soliloquist of Sound. So, so like I basically just rapped over an Alias beat, rest in peace. And Swam was like, let's work on an album. And he started producing it. And I started going over there all the time. And we just started working together. And like now as far as production goes, we're 3 albums deep together. He's always been my producer for all my full lengths. But yeah, it truly working with Swam as a mentor
And shout out to Swam because he's been a mentor to a lot of people. Um, especially here in Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the stuff that they did out here um, was a beautiful thing in our city. Because we kind of all, you know, came up together, and I was able to see. He came from Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
the touchdown, and initially did stuff with BMF, and so I kind of got to see his growth when he came down here, and they just added or expanded, if you will, um, at the time how I felt like the sound of Orlando. It gave a
Mm-hmm.
different perspective on what was already here. Do you feel when we're talking about this? Do you feel a lot of times that the natives, if you will, not including yourself, let's take all the natives.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like the natives do get a representation of themselves in regards to the accolades that may be here in Orlando? Like we have Orlando Weekly and we have the Orlando Sentinel
Mm-hmm.
and we have radio, which are really our only media outlets that can
Mm-hmm.
provide any highlights to what our people are doing out here outside of the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you feel like we get a full representation of our story out here, or do you feel like it kind of centers around things in which maybe could be viewed in a negative way, if you will?
Yeah, I don't think that we are represented as much as we should be. And I, even myself, it took me a long time to even, thankfully, shouts to Bao of the Orlando Weekly. He's like such a big fan of mine that he's put me out there and done write ups and stuff. But I'm still waiting for the cover, you know.
I
But
heard that.
uh, you know, I don't know. I think hip hop in general and rap in general in Orlando and the media outlets out here is underrepresented. Especially hip hop as a culture, it's underrepresented because people just, it's kind of, unless you're in it, you don't really know about it. So, I've been happy and blessed to have been asked to be a part of different shows and connect with other people outside of hip hop as a genre. Um,
Right.
and as a culture, to do shows with people that do like folk music or just random stuff. And thankfully, I feel like that's opened myself up to. And shouts to Soliloquist of Sound again because they kind of did the same thing. Like they had fans from all over the spectrum, like people that
Right.
weren't necessarily rap fans because their music was so eclectic and innovative and it wasn't just like full on like rap music. So I've been blessed and excited to like be a part of different shows, like diverse shows that have allowed people that aren't necessarily, like I said, rap fans or hip hop fans to open their mind.
Which to me is like dope. Like um, shout out to venues like Will's Pub,
Mm-hmm.
and the like in Orlando that can offer, because we did a show a couple weeks ago and it was dope and it was weird because they didn't know what we did. Like they
Mm-hmm.
didn't know what we did. And there's a lot of people out here that if they were more exposed to what we as a collective in the city did, there wouldn't be so much division, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people have to kind of curb what they say when they say we're going to do a hip hop show. As soon
Yeah.
as you say hip hop has been drugged through the mud throughout this entire city,
Absolutely.
in a way that just either says it's just black people or it's black people from Mercy Drive.
It's ghetto.
Right,
Gonna,
like
some
they
shit's
use
gonna
all
go
these fucking
down.
urban, yeah, use all these fucking
Some
little
shit's
code language, right? And it's just sad, man, because sometimes it just feels like the media just falls in line with that shit. It
Yeah.
feels like everybody just continues to kind of support this idea that unless you're doing, let's say what you're doing, then we have no space there
Yeah.
unless they're doing what like I don't do what I do because it's cool. I do what I do because I got children, and I'm telling them my story.
Yeah.
And I want them to know where the hell I'm from. I got peoples out here that, I want to let them know where I'm from. Like the idea of, having to do or having to be, one person to be even accepted. I just think a lot of times we do our city wrong when we don't open arms to city. We make them seem like they're not even a part of the city. East Side is definitely a part of the city. That Red Rum movement, they should be the Will's Pubs of the world should be exposed to what Red Rum is doing. If for anything else, it's their city. How do you not know what the fuck's going on in your city?
I think it goes both ways too, because as a woman in the scene, I can definitely say that there's certain, and I feel like we talked about this a little when you were over here. Like,
yeah,
it's hard sometimes for me to unify with certain styles of rap or hip hop because some of it is glorifying things that I don't necessarily agree with. I went from like listening to the most objectifying shit ever to like having this spiritual awakening that was like, oh my God, I can't listen to any of this shit. It's like hurting my soul, to now kind of trying to find a way back to the middle, because I understand that, there is a sense of unification that needs to happen no matter what style of rap it is.
Right.
Then, how do I put my ego aside and kind of be more understanding and that makes sense, right? Like there's certain things that I'm just like, oh, I don't, want to be a part of that, because essentially I feel like it contributes to the downfall of my people, or,
And you're right. No, and you're right. And you're absolutely fucking right. Does it contribute to the detriment of our message? Absolutely.
And I'm especially passionate about.
But does it contribute to the overall impact that your music could actually be, which is, right? And I'm just saying, as an artist, we all color and contrasts. To make a white look white, you got to put black around it. To make a red look red, you got to put sometimes a green around it. And this idea in which you go to a show or you see some representation of a city in which it's just red, I tend to see the message becoming blurred. I know the home of hip hop, which is New York City, KRS-One, for example, his first album was Criminal Minded. He began to do edutainment. He began to do By All Means Necessary. But that first album was, it snapshotted what was going on in his community. And at that time, he was the outsider. He was the guy that, was the troublemaker. He had a message that sounded violent and didn't sound like it wasn't a part of this positive story, if you will. But they made a place for him. And, we as a people have an obligation to stop judging our people in such a way in which we become a blur. I think all of us have like this opportunity to create these colors and contrasts, so when I hear, something that I think a lot of what you're saying is the opposite too, right? Like, on the side that you're saying you ain't really with, on that side, that's all they're playing. And there's no contrast there. And it all seems a blur. I hear the argument all the time, like, yo, I don't know who's rapping.
Well, and the more you're kind of resistant to that, the more I feel like it, it keeps us divided to where
and it keeps a space for both to exist.
Listen, I grew up in a situation where a lot of that, stuff, that street stuff was reality for me. So I am, listen to Nas. Like, you know, it's not like that was all roses and positivity. Like, it was a lot of street shit. And I think now that I'm older, I respect the storytelling more, and it doesn't necessarily need to be, you know, like, oh, we got to do conscious hip hop, we got to do positive hip hop all the time. Like, there's a reality to it. I just think that there's a difference between, you know, glorifying certain things and storytelling. Storytelling about your reality for me is different than glorifying something that could hurt, because I am an example of, you know, when the Little Kim started coming out and all this stuff and talking about sexual things and listening to that at an age where I was just like, you know, very malleable, I guess, like very, you know, influenceable. Just like, I understand the need again too for balance. Like, it's not that nothing sexual can exist or things about women in music can't exist, but there needs to be, first of all, more of a balance in the mainstream, and second of all, you know, like a respect. Men especially need to understand and grasp a level of respect for the fact that women, especially women of color, have been traumatized so much, have been raped, sexually abused in these same circles. You know what I'm saying? To where there's certain things that can be said that I'm not cool with. I'm just never gonna be cool with them ever again. Like, it's just, and I'm trying to find that balance, because I don't want to judge people, and I don't want to, especially because, like, I've done fucked up shit. We've all done fucked up shit, right? Like, I think there's a sense of, and I still do fucked up shit. Like, I'm not perfect, but there is a sense of respect and a level of respect I believe that male rappers, male MCs need to kind of have for women, not only in the industry, women in general. When they put their music out, we have to be conscious of like what we're putting out into the world, because I do believe that our music, what we put out into the world, it ripples and it does affect things in the world, you know?
And I love what you just said, man, because it's the idea of leading. Mm-hmm. A lot of our leaders that we remember are reluctant leaders. They're leaders that didn't want to lead. Mm-hmm. They didn't want to have nothing to do with that shit. And that's when you know they're a leader. The leaders that want to lead aren't the leaders that should be leading. They have this idea of what people should be, which is like, you know, but it's not the truth. The truth is to your point, we're all fucked up. Mm-hmm. And we don't get to choose like our upbringing. For a lot of people out here in Orlando, they grew up on bass music. Mm-hmm. They know what the idea of what, you know, bass music meant. It was a good time. Yeah, it was kind of nasty and crazy, but for them it was just, you know, it was what it was growing up in Florida, or what dance hall is to Jamaica. And it's kind of like creating this idea which, okay, you know, we talk about Jamaica all the time, you know, in the world, especially down here in Florida. And it's like the idea of, okay, we can't go to a dance hall because they're going to play just, you know, dance hall all night. And that may be true in some whack club, but most real dance halls, they're going to play roots and culture, and they're going to play dance hall. Yeah. Why? Because there's a contrast. For the people that are really into that roots and culture, they're going to be able to hear that, and they're going to be able to understand that and interpret that, and they're going to love it even more because they heard the black or they heard the white, you know, and they were able to kind of creatively think of an appreciation for it. All people are welcome. Come as you are.
Yin and yang.
Right, to come as you are. Shout out to Nirvana, Kurt Cobain, rest in peace. You know, the idea of like, we have a responsibility because we got a generation, and I know you're still young, but we still got a generation coming after us. Are we going to tell them that they can only go to this place, they hit this? You know, growing up in a place where, as a DJ, you know, I remember hearing KRS-One at the venue. I remember hearing Luke at the venue. I remember hearing Buju at the venue. And I remember hearing, you know, Sham or Elephant Man. Yeah. You know, like I got to hear everything because, you know, and that freaked people out because Anywhere else, they don't get to hear all of that at one spot.
Yeah.
And we were like the few places on earth that you can hear all of it in one night.
But there was more of a balance, you know, back then. That's the thing. Is like I don't think that this stuff shouldn't exist. I just think that like, and I think we are coming to a place where there is gonna be more of a balance. You know, like I feel like, you know, society, the world society, it happens in cycles, and we had a time where it was like it was a balance. It was more conscious shit. And then if you wanted to listen to your party music, you listen to your party music. You know, you had more of a balance, especially with women in the industry. And now I just think it's very imbalanced. But I do believe that we are on a path to balancing it out a little bit more.
Absolutely.
I want our youth, especially our young women, to like have a choice of what they want to listen to, not just be force fed. You know, you can't be force fed this bullshit all the time. I mean, you know, whatever. Some of it's not bullshit. Shit, I'll you know, some freaky ass songs I want to listen to sometimes, but I'm a grown ass woman. Like, if I have a daughter, I want them to have a choice of what they hear and understand, like, hey, yes, embrace your sexuality, but also there's this too. There is this too, and it's fucking dope, and people respect it in the industry, and the mainstream respects it just as much as they respect the other stuff, you know?
Absolutely. And you know, shout out E-Turn is joining us on the Soul Show tonight, and we're just talking.
You're just talking.
You know, and the idea to what you're saying, that balance, man. I think the balance begins even before we get there. I think you know, like you said, the division, you know, comes from the idea of they're over there, so we ain't fucking with them. You know, before we even get to the club. And Orlando has been, we're experts in division. We've dealt with it. We do it. We're one of the few places that probably does it better than anyone else. We've told people, you know, we were told, you know, coming up in the club era and coming up in the performance era, we don't want that hip hop over here. Right. They not only looked at hip hop, even the positive shit, they wanted, hip hop was associated with black, so they didn't want none of that shit.
None of it, yeah.
Didn't matter. And so we came out of that trying to survive. About Public
Enemy.
Right. We came out of that shit trying to survive. Shout out to, you know, the Hitman and the Lebanese, which is across from where Wills is at right now. But we came from that element of like, that was really one of the few places in which it was strictly diverse.
Yeah.
They said hip hop was just black, but when you rolled in the Lebanese, it was Puerto Ricans, it was whites, it was people from Middle Eastern. Everyone was there. West Indian, everyone was there.
That's the beautiful
and white
thing
people
about
were
Orlando.
there. Everyone was there, and they tried to tell us what hip hop was. And I get upset sometimes, and that's my imperfections about understanding. But I get upset sometimes when I hear the narrative of what hip hop is supposed to be, based on people that want no parts of the real hip hop or the real story behind hip hop. Like they only want it if it benefits them.
They want to capitalize.
They don't want it.
It's culture vultures.
Right.
It's like,
but they don't want it if they don't want it if it benefits, like I said, all my peoples from Mercy Drive, Ivan Lane, Pine Hills,
exactly.
You know, Metro West, you know, Paramore, Beirut, Lebanon, Motown. Like all of my people out here, man, they deserve a voice too. And they don't all like bass music, but they don't like feeling like they can't be a part of something simply because they've been associated to what they're listening to. Like I've known, shout out to my man DJ KG, who's gonna be a guest on here, man. Shout out to him. I know my man, he done listened to Jam Pony Express, Uncle Al, and Public Enemy. He listened to all that shit. And we try to box ourselves in a place in which we can only listen to one thing to be one thing. And that shit is stupid. It just doesn't, it lacks the love and empathy that we all need to be fully understood and to feel like we're a part of something. Because that's what I'm saying about our city. I feel like we would do so much better if we just supported our city from a city perspective instead of support me and then leave people out as a result, because these people are good people. They just don't listen to everything that everybody else listens to. You know, I'm crazy. I listen to Portishead. I listen to Portishead, Public Enemy, Poison Clan, and go right about my day. And might listen to some damn what is it? The Steve Miller Band. Like I listen.
Just don't listen to Kid Rock, and we good.
Nah, I don't fuck with Kid though.
We're good. We can
shout out to Detroit, man. We love you. 313, man. Shout out to Motown. We love y'all, man. But nah, man. Talk about what were some of the ideas that you wanted to talk about in your albums. Like, we're talking about albums because that shit is like a relic. People don't make albums the way they used to do. Talk about your first opportunity in like doing an album and what went into that.
Honestly, my first album, I don't know what went into it. I never had the experience with it before, so I just kind of like let Swam take the reins, and he's just like, just rap. Like right. Here's the beat, and I'm gonna rap over it, right? So I didn't really. I think, you know, it's a journey. The first album, I go back and listen to my first album, and I remember back then just being like, I'm not, you know, it's not polished, I'm not seasoned, I'm not as good as I'm going to be. And it's like, you always do that. You look ahead, you're like, it's not as good as I wanted it. But Swam would always tell me, like, your fans want to see the journey. And when I look back, even though I judged it so hard, and maybe, you know, theory-wise or whatever, it wasn't like the greatest thing ever, but those raps were so free. It's like the more I got into it as a career and got older, and I'm like, it was more calculated. I look back and I'm like, damn, like, where did that person go? You know, like, I was just like fucking rapping, just like, so I just honestly, I don't know for my first album, like, what went into it. I just did it. I really don't remember.
I think that's dope though, man, because I feel the same way about some of the stuff that we did coming up and looking at it in retrospect, and the freedom that you have.
I was like, damn.
And the older you get, you feel more responsible or calculated, if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm calculated now.
Exactly. I mean, especially if you're doing it for money, like, especially if you're doing it for a career, you know, I'm doing it full time. I mean, I do other shit, obviously. I was just working on a voiceover a second ago because I can't tour. But yeah, like, especially if you start doing it for money, there's a lot more pressure there, you know?
Well, I have a different outtake on calculation. Like, I'm calculated simply because I'm looking at mortality and the idea of not completely giving a fuck anymore. Like, you know, part of what's dope about age and caption age, if you live to see it, because people are dying left and right, honor your life, trust your life, be thankful that you're still alive. But if you can make it to a certain age, and I used to wonder why, like, uncles and dads would just be like this crazy motherfuckers. Like, you know, I would wonder what the hell why are they so crazy? Were they always this fucking crazy?
Right.
But I get it now, because if you live long enough, you don't give a fuck about anyone's thought patterns.
Yeah.
And I think that makes you crazy. And I don't think anything great has ever been made. And anybody in the comments right now, please correct me. Has anything great ever been made from being normal?
Hell no.
I don't know. I just don't know. Like, I salute all of my crazy people out here that don't give a fuck.
Are crazy as fuck. My favorite MCs are crazy as fuck. And might I add, and dare I say, I'm crazy as fuck.
Oh, we already know that.
Nah, y'all are seeing the relaxed, chill E-turn right now.
Yeah, I already know all that, man. Your fucking name is Turn. Where the fuck are we going? Shit, I thought we was going straight. That, you know, no, we turning, motherfucker. You know, so I get all that. Like, but it's just like I said, the idea of, you know, the older you get, now that you see the projects that you've done and the projects you're currently doing, if there's a liberation, I think, that is different from freedom. Freedom of youth is like grounded towards like an ignorance, like you're just ignorant of it all. But then as the older you get, you've learned a little more, and now you're really you've chosen not to pay attention to
There's
any
a
of that.
different,
And I think
it's
that's
a
the
different type
deliberate.
of freedom. Yeah, no,
Right.
that's dope. I think I'm actually just now starting to kind of reach that place in my artistry. Like honestly, just like as of recently in the last year, I think there was this whole space where I was so much anxiety surrounding my music all the time as I tried to figure it out. And now I like the way you said that, because yes, now it is more calculated and what's it called? Intentional, but
Right.
there's knowledge behind it, and also the freedom.
You
of,
know
like,
why you don't give a fuck is the
Yeah,
thing. It's
yeah,
like you just
yeah,
know
that's
why
dope. I like that.
you're
Yeah,
free.
yeah, yeah.
You know, like freedom with ignorance is bliss, but you're not at your best. You know, you could score all day, like you can make jumps. Like Jordan was dope when he was scoring 50. It just his team lost every fucking time.
There's no
But when
direction necessarily
Right.
with it. There's more
Right,
direction
and-
with it. Yeah.
And when Jordan started shaving those numbers down and scoring 38, 40, his team was allowed to be involved, and he was able to not give a fuck so much.
Right.
Giving a fuck sometimes means you're the hero of your own movie. I posted something the other day about, Superman never needed no help. Batman did. And from the beginning, if not the first movie, he was asking for help. Why? Because he knew he needed help. And the people that he was asking for help needed help. But
Right.
Superman was the one person in the fucking movie that didn't need help. And he died in the end. And most people want to be Superman. And they never realize that, sometimes it doesn't matter whether fuck, you got all the powers. Maybe those powers block you from really acknowledging your weaknesses, until it's too late. And, especially in art, our best characteristics sometimes are our vulnerabilities, our insecurities, our things that make us human.
Well,
Because
the
the
things
world
that
looks at
allow people to
heroes.
relate to us. I mean,
Right.
that's how I start to look at performing on stage when I mess up. Again, shouts to Swan, because there's been moments where I've seen these imperfections and he's been like, hey, he's like, you're dope. He's like, when you fuck up, people get to see that you're human, So, I think I embrace my mistakes and my fuck ups a lot more, because it's what allows people to relate to me, If nobody could relate to me, what's the point?
Right.
you know
Right. And it's a beautiful thing, not only when we see our men have a vulnerability, once again,
Absolutely.
and this balance thing that we call this thing of ours, we have to acknowledge, man, we both have responsibilities here. If women can allow themselves to be vulnerable, to not necessarily always have to be that bad bitch, and to not always be this person in reaction to these people, and that will maybe be the thing that maybe we do need as men, to acknowledge that it's okay to be vulnerable. Some of the greatest artists I've ever heard in my life are the ones that can capture their vulnerability lyrically, from a music standpoint, from a teamwork standpoint, from a record label standpoint, whatever. Like when you hear a man vulnerable, it's not some shit to take advantage of or say that man is weak. It's something to kind of celebrate, because that man, right, he probably went through some shit to get to that place. And he's at that point now that he don't give a fuck. He's gonna put it all on the line. Do you feel like women should show maybe a little more vulnerability in their music outside of the obvious, which is, I know R&B is not what R&B is anymore.
You mean like the lovey-dovey stuff?
Well, I don't know if it's love. Maybe it's just the idea of being wrong. Because for a lot of our music sounds like what it is to be right. And I think.
So do you
I
mean
think
like with women being on that kind of like, oh fuck this dude, fuck that, blah blah blah, like
no, just
becoming
being
less?
wrong. Maybe sometimes maybe the assumption. Maybe I'm wrong. I think we live in this feminist movement right now where it's the empowering is dope, but also we need the idea of maybe I was wrong in assuming that all men are like this, or maybe I was wrong in the idea of what society has beat into my head to force this reaction. Like, do you think we're at a point, or maybe getting to a point
I
where
think
we can actually have that conversation?
I think in society, right, like we're pushed polarities, this side, that side, and
Right.
I think when we haven't experienced the balance and the in between on the spectrum, that I'm starting to realize this with so many things like the cancel culture stuff and all this. We almost have to go. We were all the way over here. Now we have to move all the way over here, and I'm hoping, you know, we get pulled back somewhere in the middle because we didn't have the experience of that opposite side of it. So I almost feel like this crazy feminist stuff has to happen in order for us to be like, okay, maybe we're going all the way to the other side. Now we're going to pull it back a little bit and try to find like a middle ground because, you know, it is important for women to figure that out, you know, figure it out for ourselves because like for so long we were, you know, we didn't have power. We still don't have power. I mean, it's statistically proven that women are paid less than men, that women are raped more than men statistically. I mean, women have more, you know, episodes of molestation and all this stuff. Like,
So you guys are more susceptible, if you will.
So I think
especially in this time, to not having empathy. I think that
there's a sense of like lioness, like fuck you for everything you fucking did this whole time.
Right,
to take my fucking power back.
Right.
And then we start to figure out on our spiritual journey like how to reel that in a little and how to have more of a balance internally because there's a lot of anger that is justified. And for a long time, I have fucking anger issues. And for a long time, I beat myself up and I shamed myself for that shit of like, you know, oh, you're just this angry, crazy ass bitch. And it's like, no, actually, there's reasons for it, and I'm realizing the reasons for it, you know, as I go through therapy and stuff like that, and again on my spiritual path, and just sitting, and even through my music, writing my music, realizing what this stuff stems from, and understanding that, yeah, okay, this might not be the right way to deal with it, but I'm gonna have to go what I have to go through to realize what it is and why I feel this way, and then maybe reel it back a little bit and find a balance and more of a middle ground. But I think that we have to go through this whole crazy ass like you fuck y'all movement because we never had that power, you know, not in my lifetime and not in the history that I've read, you know, we never really had that power. So I think that a sense of patience needs to be had and understanding from the male side, because I hear a lot of dudes that are like sick of the whole like, oh, feminist this, feminist that.
It has its place because it's a reaction to your point. To in lieu of freedom, there will be a revolt, and this is the revolt that you're describing.
Absolutely. It's the same with race,
right? We're black men in America right now are completely and utterly for 400 years one of the biggest threats and killed for simply being or assumed being more powerful. We're bigger. We have you know, we're inventors. We're everything that would cause a threat in society, and yet the patience in which you described sometimes is very, very stingily given. We're always told that you're a man, get over it.
Right.
You're a man.
Right.
You know, I don't care. I don't care if you're black. We're associated with men on a global scale, knowing that the black man in America is probably, you know, to your point, you gave all the raped, molested, feminized, put to all these different tests that kind of make them submit or be looked at as a submissive force because of our strengths, because of the abilities that we have. We run faster. We're more talented. We're on every sports team. We're the protectors. We're viewed as the bodyguards. We're the bouncers at the club. We're looked at as such as something to be attacked.
Right.
So when we're talking about this feminism idea, the black man is probably your closest ally and that knowing what it is to constantly be attacked.
Well, that's exactly what it was for women, like the witch thing. We turned into witches back in the day, and we're scorned because we have more of a connection to intuition, the intuitive aspect of life, and like being powerful in more of a spiritual way. So like there's definitely a lot of parallels there.
Right.
Definitely.
And so when we're talking about this idea of what it is to be conscious of it, to spread it, to give it to each other, to receive it, I think we all have a responsibility in looking at the things that we do to promote love, empathy, and understanding during a time in which you will talk to someone today and they will be gone tomorrow.
Absolutely.
I mean, wouldn't that suck to know that in the midst of us, in all of our battles and what we're trying to do out here, that our last words or our last experiences with people is from that place
hate.
of revolt.
Right. Absolutely.
And we're all guilty of it. We've all been to places in which we didn't want to go. We've seen other people be in those spaces and didn't want to be there. And I think that's a reflective of our music. Like you were talking about those polar opposites, the ideas of, I'm sick of this, so this. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of them, this. And that, we're all kind of doing that in our own ways. I think Orlando is probably one of the best places in a position to change the trajectory of the entire fucking world. Because we get it. All of us are here. Damn near the entire world is in Orange County.
Absolutely. I agree.
And it should sound like that.
Yeah, you can hear it. Yeah.
It should sound like that. That whole fucking sound should be such a brand new sound. Like, we ain't even heard that shit sound. Like
that's why we don't really have a platform, because we're somewhere else.
All right. Well, I love what you're talking about. Talk about what you got going on right now, Mama, and what does E-Turn after the COVID? And I want you to touch on that too. How were you affected by COVID? And what are you doing as a response to coming out of that?
It's been a whirlwind for sure. The world basically shut down like 2 days after I got back from my last tour, a New England run that I did up in the Northeast, and I don't know. I've just been rolling with the punches. Like I've been doing voiceover for quite some time, but just very, very much randomly when I get work, and so I've been pushing that a little bit more. I've been doing some voiceover stuff to stay afloat. For some, commercials, ads and stuff. And then I've been doing features to,
Dope.
Doing some live stream shows. I've actually been blessed to be a part of some pretty dope ones. Some artists that I respect pulling me onto their shows. And I'm kind of just all over the place. I'm really starting to get more now into, I just signed my first sync deal recently in the last few months with a company that's obviously going to help me with placement and try to get some of my music licensed. So I'm grateful. There's so many bad things that have happened from COVID, but there's so much opportunity. It's allowed me to focus on certain things that I've been wanting to focus on for so long that I haven't been able to, because I'm always trying to do shows or be on the road so I can pay my bills. And thankfully, God has had my back, and I've been able to stay afloat. I recently did a demo for. I didn't get the gig, unfortunately, which it sucks so bad because I would have been straight for the rest of the year if I would have gotten it. But I did a demo for rapping on a bank advertisement for like a radio commercial. So
Okay.
there's just all these random opportunities that have been coming my way, and I know it's because I've stuck with it. I mean, there was a moment there where I was like, all right, I need to rethink my whole life. Who knows when the world's gonna open back up? Like, I need to like go back to school. I need to do, and I'm not, I'm not against still doing that or maybe getting my real estate license or something to have some kind of a backup plan. But I really was like, should I quit? Like this is just like the world being like, skirt, no. Because like 2020 literally was gonna be one of the biggest touring years for me. Like I had tours in Europe set up. I had like a huge festival I was gonna do out there. I had all this stuff going, and it just all of it got canceled. So I like pushed over that hump, and I swear the universe is giving me opportunities that I never thought, and I'm back to being confident about moving. And I think that a lot of people, sadly or fortunately for me, are giving up because they're like, I don't know if I can keep doing this uphill battle. And so I think that the artists that stick through it are gonna see a lot of success once things are popping again.
Well, and I love what you just said too. The idea of giving up in lieu of direction.
Yeah.
A great example of this show. I damn near died in a car accident. I don't know how the fuck this show even. I still don't know how this. It was a conversation. It was an idea, and then it's happening, and I damn near half the time, if not all the time, don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And I think that's a beautiful thing because that prevents me from getting in my own way.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people out here, 2020 was God saying, sit your ass down somewhere and shut the fuck up. And we needed that. We didn't even know we needed it.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. I mean, my perspective has shifted a lot, and I've been able to see things that I wasn't able to see before because I was just always on the go, always on the run. And I mean, I'm still kind of all over the place, but just so many different things that I was able to kind of hone in on. And I'm hoping that within the next maybe by like fall time, I might be able to do some shows or even maybe a tour, like a little run or something. I'm trying to plan on that, but if not, then hopefully by next year, I think that we'll be in a better space for that, and I'm gonna be more ready for it, and I'm gonna be rested. I mean, I don't know if I told you this, but I'm going through some health issues with my voice, so I have a polyp on my left vocal cord, and
we talked about that.
Yeah, there's a possibility I might have to get surgery, so it's a little scary. So I'm almost just like, I'm glad it happened now, instead.
Well, that just that's to everything we've been talking about tonight. It reminds you of the value of your voice and how short of a time you may have it.
Yeah.
Right? Like how important it is to make sure, not to reference memes, but I said what I said, to be able to be that person when it comes to your voice and how important your voice is. Your voice in Orlando is so important. You're speaking for a lot of people out here, man, that may never even fucking meet you or tell you thank you. But you're working for a lot of people out here. You're serving the community. Please know that. Please know that you're not alone. Please know that you're not doing this shit in vain. Please know that we all out here in this city appreciate you. Please know that your story needs to be heard because it represents our city throughout the entire fucking world. Please know that this is a moment of reflection and growth, not only for what you're doing, but for all of us. We're all growing up together right now. I think it's a beautiful fucking thing.
For sure. I agree. Yeah. I absolutely agree. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, shouts to Grand Collab though too, like that shares the studio space with me. I'm in my studio right now. I was just working on a track like right before we got on, and I was doing a voiceover earlier. But shouts to Grand Collab because they're all about, and you had mentioned it earlier, just kind of, diversifying and bringing all walks of life together. And I've been blessed to share this space with them and get this studio while COVID was happening last year, and it's been life changing for me. I've been able to like work outside of my house now, and it's been done wonders for my productivity, and I think that's part of the thing that has opened up the doors for opportunity. I've just been in a different mind state and attracting different vibes. So like, yeah, shouts to Cub. He's kind of like a rock for me at times, and shouts to the Grand Collab who I share this awesome space with.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Shout to that whole movement, Beat Ministry, Grand
Beat
Collab,
Ministry, Beat Money.
everybody, man. Y'all are important to this overall story. I don't think giving up is even a fucking option. We ain't finna let you. We out here. Like I said, my whole mission, bro, is to bring out the entire city. We want our story told at all cost.
Right.
And there's nothing that I've seen yet that's going to deter it. I think we just need to continue the building, the conversations, the planning, the unifying. We don't need to all think the same way. We don't need to all flow the same way. We are all needed. And I just think we need to find a way to make those things happen. Our city is depending on us being bigger than ourselves.
Right, but then also coming back and saying, it starts here. We have to make sure that we're taking care of our own selves in order to be able to contribute, because there's moments where I'm like, I feel like I'm not doing everything that I should be or want to be doing in my community, but also I have to remember there's like a balance that has to be found where I got to take care of self, my spiritual health, my mental, my spiritual, my emotional health, my physical health. We got to remember that we are helping our community by being the best version of ourselves. So we need to try to be as healthy as possible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's
it. Where can they find your music at, the Queen?
Thank you. eturnmusic.info, eturnmusic.info is my website. All my links are on there. I'm at eturnmusic on all social media. If you go to my site too and you're trying to cop this hip hop is my love language shirt, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
One of my newer designs. I've got some other cool designs on there too. Support, you know what I'm saying? I do this full time. I'm in these streets hustling. I got other hustles too. Like I was like dog sitting all last week. But yeah.
Hey, dog need love too.
So yeah, hit me up, follow me, shout me out, cop a shirt, listen to my music. I'm on all platforms. E-TURN is actually how you spell my artist name. And so you can find me on Spotify, Apple Music, all that good stuff.
Couple last questions.
Yeah.
What was one of the most exciting concerts you did, and why? Who did you open up for? What was it? What was it like being able to open up for that, and just why was that impactful in your life?
Definitely the KRS shows that I've done. I did a couple in Texas, and then actually my last technical show, I think, was it the last one? Besides my tour, but in Orlando, my last.
If you're going to say January 11th, which is my birthday.
Oh, it was your birthday? It was your birthday?
I'm a Capricorn. My brother took me out there for my birthday.
Yeah.
We never seen him live in concert.
Oof.
And that
so
shit
good.
was amazing to see
good.
all of you out there.
Yeah.
And you were there doing your thing. It was a great concert. It was a great look for our city. He killed it. He killed it. He murdered it.
That was such an experience.
Well.
Yeah, I've opened up for like Mobb Deep, rest in peace, Prodigy, before Prodigy died. Got to open up for them. That show was a little bit of a mess, but it was still like a dream come true, you know. And then I opened up for some Wu-Tang cats like Jizza, Raekwon, Killer Priest were there, and then like YDB, ODB's son. We like became friends during that whole show that we did in Colorado. I've opened up for like Talib. Yeah, it's been really, although, you know, those are just little like notches in the belt. I feel like those are just like things that fuel me and keep me going. But yeah, I want to do more shows with women that I respect. Like I want to like go on a whole tour with Lauryn Hill or Bahamadia, who's my favorite.
Yeah, shout out to Bahamadia.
I was supposed to do a show with Sa-Rock in Vienna, Austria last year, and it got canceled. So that was like kind of a cool dream for me.
Shout out to Sa-Rock. Yes.
Yeah, she's repping for the ladies for sure. So
yes.
But I'm staying hopeful that like, you know, good things are abound.
Nah, they are, man. They are, and I like I said, our city is proud of you. I know I can speak for the city, and our hip hop community. This is all I've ever known out here, and I know, you know, you're one of those people that are out here giving it everything you got to make it happen. I think that shit is beautiful, and we definitely got your back.
Thank you so much.
Last question. You're talking to our city right now. If there's one thing that you could tell our city, and for those that maybe listen today or maybe listen tomorrow, what would it be and why?
Whew. I guess I'll just pick something that kind of resonates with me today. That, like you already said it. You know, you got to live every day like it's your last. You know, we can't constantly be judging ourselves and shaming and living with guilt, and we have to like really just you know, hone in on the moment. And yeah, life is too short here to constantly be worrying, and stress kills. Trust me, it killed my grandmother. So along with all the beautiful talks about unity and coming together and trying to see social change happen, other than that, just trying to live every day like it's your last. And
right, the change begins with yourself first.
Absolutely.
If you can unify the yin and yang in you, then you can present that to everyone else. It's difficult if you're troubled, but let us not get it twisted at all. None of us are perfect, and it's never going to be the right time, and we'll probably roll into heaven with one shoe. Do the fucking thing.
Forgiveness. That's what I want to say. Forgiveness. Don't forget to forgive, not even yourself.
Right. It don't matter how you roll in there. Come as you are. Quoting my man Kurt Cobain. I listen to that song once a week.
Nice.
Because come as you are is everything. Yes, that thing that resonates. It's real. We're focused on what we're wearing, how things are supposed to be so perfect. And none of that shit matters. Come as you are. Come with everything you got right now. And I think that's memorable. And those are the things that allow us to forgive, because every time you see mistakes in others, it's because you see it in yourself, and we are all one that way. So shout outs to you. Shout outs to your whole movement. We love you. Continue doing what you're doing out here. Don't take no shit from nobody. We represent the ORL. This is our city, and that's all we're trying to do. This is all we're trying to do. Go get this work, mama.
I'm about to go get this food, though. Thank you
I
so
heard
much.
that.
Thank you so much for having me, yo. We will talk very soon, I'm sure.
Oh, you already know, man. Love you. Continue doing what you're doing, man. Respect. Man, shout out to E-Term. Give it up. She joined the Soul Show tonight. We love her, man. This is what it is. Sound of Orlando shit. Come get yours. Man, we love everybody that's tuned in tonight. Shout out to my man Strange Flow. My dough, we got you. You already know. Shout out to DJ KG. You know what time it is, brother. We got you too, man. Shout out to my man DJ Shu, the legendary DJ Shu. Shout out to everybody else that tuned in tonight, man. We love y'all. Shout out to my man Deco. This is what we do, man. We're trying to give our flowers while people are here. Why? Because it's my city. This is what we got to do, man. We ain't playing, bro. This is what we do, man. Shout out to everybody that knows what time it is when it comes to hip-hop culture and this thing of ours, man. We love y'all, man. It's what we do. Tonight, you know, I'm going to leave you tonight with a musical ending. Why? Because we can. I also want to make an announcement. If you have an MP4 of any musical endings, we're now saying, hey, Orlando, send us a musical act at the end of the night. We'll play it. This is your boy Rome. This is the Soul Show. We're not playing. It's real. We ended the night off with some music, and thank God for that. Let's go.
That's my man throwing down.
Give it to them, give it to them.
Bust the mix.
On stage, the sound.
Orlando.
So, if they ready, the sound.
Orlando.
You know.